are at Shelters by Jesus podcast, and we are so excited that you're with us, you're watching, you're listening, you're hitting subscribe, you're hitting like, you're sharing with your friends, because that brings money in. And if you want to help get people off the street, you go to sheltersbyjesus.com. If you'd like to give, it's $9. We'll get somebody off the street. We also have 4 books out written by the dumb hick from Skowhegan, me. And they have 2 prices, $10 are free. And you put your name and address right there and tell if you want books 1, 2, 3, or 4, all of them. We'll mail them right out to you. You also can call the office at 207-474-8833 and give them your name and address there, and they'll ship it. But the other thing you can do is get a tour. When you call that number, say, I'd like a tour, and you'll meet the residents. You'll see everything we have. And we're just excited about you being a part of this. So now, on to the podcast. We're on to our podcast, and I have a very special young guest. She was a little nervous the other day when I brought it up, but then she saw some of my podcasts and realized there's not much to be nervous about. I'm just a crazy dumb hick from Skowhegan, and we just have fun. And this young lady's name is?
My name's Brianna.
Brianna. And how old are you, Brianna?
I'm 26 years old.
So you're still a baby. And you have a very special one with you this morning.
I do. This is my daughter, Octavia.
And she's how old?
She's 2 years old.
2 years old. Now, look at this, all right? You see why we do what we do? Isn't this precious? Could you imagine seeing this young lady and that little 2-year-old girl on the street? The other reason they're not, because we're 100% faith-based, so your $9 coming in and whatever, either 9 or multitudes of 9 or whatever, is giving her a chance to be here. So what's it been like since you've been here, Brianna?
There's definitely an adjustment period, but everyone at the shelter is incredibly kind. They always, they check in on you to see how you're doing. Okay, pumpkin. I got sick, and when I was sick, quite a few different people knocked on my door and just to check in. How are you doing? Here's a whole case of water. Make sure to stay hydrated. Here's your lunch. Here's your dinner. And it's almost like a family here. Now,
when you contacted us, you were going to homeless. Is this what you pictured a homeless shelter to be?
No, I was actually at a homeless shelter when I was 18 years old.
You was?
Yes.
I did not know that. See what I'm finding? So you guys are finding out too, because I don't know Brianna's history either. So what was that like? Where was that at?
It was the Waterville shelter.
Okay.
I'm not sure if things has changed there, but she's very tired.
Yes. God bless her.
I'm not sure if things has changed at the shelter there, but it's definitely doesn't feel like home in any shape or form. Like you're not allowed to have access to your phone, so you can't. It's hard to stay in touch with friends or family.
You're right.
You're allowed out at a certain time during the summer. You're kicked out during the day. You have to be back by a certain time during the day. During the winter, just very strict rules, and it just wasn't a very comfortable situation.
Now, at that time, you said you was 18, so that's before you had your child.
Right.
So you was a single girl, just by yourself. When I say single, I don't mean versus married. I mean just you were all by yourself.
Right.
Now, what would you have pictured that like if you had to? What's your daughter's name again?
Octavia.
Octavia. That's a pretty name. I don't think I ever heard a girl called Octavia before. It sounds like a Roman warrior. Octavia. Doesn't it? Yeah. So, say you was this time and you was facing homelessness as you were in one of your, how would you have felt about if you thought you had to go to that homeless shelter with this little boy?
I thought that was going to have to be an option, and I was terrified because that's never a situation that any parent would want their child to be in.
So you would had to go out in the daytime with your child.
Yes, and I was trying to think, like, where am I going to go? Is there going to be a library close by or something? Because you don't want to be stuck outside with your daughter. It's scary. The world is scary.
Well,
not to mention where you're going to eat.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, a while ago, one of the reasons we started working with families was they had that same shelter called me. It was in the middle of the winter, and it was a young girl who had had a child, and there was complications, and she was bleeding, and she's supposed to keep her feet up, and she was at the shelter, and they called me and asked me if I'd take her because they said we can't keep her here during the daytime. So she was going to walk the street bleeding, holding a newborn in her arms. Um, so when you say terrified, there's a reason to be terrified. If you're a parent with a baby, I couldn't imagine taking my babies out on the street at 2 years old. I mean, that would be totally scary. So how have you found the food here?
Delicious.
Delicious. Well, Kenny, if Kenny
good.
watches this, our cook, he's gonna be pleased to hear that from you. There you go, Kenny. This one's for you, buddy. I'm putting it out there for you.
It really is good. I mean, there's definitely been a variety of food. So far, I think my favorite was the spaghetti.
Oh yeah, he does a good. He does his own sauce. That's one of my favorites.
It was really, really good.
Yes. So you haven't gone hungry since you've been here?
No, sir.
Oh, so people watching this, I almost made a mistake and say, no, if somebody's watching, those that may be watching it, say, I'm watching it. So I didn't make that mistake, Seth. I am getting better at this all the time, I'll tell you. If they were considering supporting some homelessness, what would you say to them if they asked you, they say, Brianna, is this a place that be worth me investing in, is Shelters by Jesus? What would you tell them? I mean, you're going to have family and friends watching this too, but others as they watch it, and a lot of them haven't been here that are watching this.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't seen or met the people. They haven't seen the facility, but they hear this, they go, okay, everybody wants to be supported. We can't support everybody, and which is true. But why would you say that this would be worth their $9? Or would you say that?
I say it's 100% worth it. Because it's very much like a community here. We look out for each other, we support each other, we encourage each other. Let me see. And for me, the best thing here is the praise and prayers and the Bible study.
You don't mind going to that?
No, that to me is what helps keep me going. It's very encouraging, and it keeps your spirits up.
So you've been to one of my Saturday night services.
Yes.
So people watching this, we have a Saturday night service that we stream. And what do you think about the Saturday night service?
I think it's really, really nice. I've been to some different churches where they're preaching and doing their thing, and you're trying to stay awake because they don't make it very much exciting. But with you, there's passion behind your words, and you can feel the love of God in the service.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you and I have not discussed this either, right? I mean, this everything we do, she didn't even know what this was going to be like, because everything we do is off the cuff. If you're watching this is 100% unscripted. Correct, Seth? Seth's behind the camera. And Seth actually is a movie dude who actually has written scripts for movies and all of that, and wrote one up for us. We did what do you call it?
Yeah, we did a trailer.
Trailer, yeah. And he wrote everything up. And it was documentary movie mixture. And so we're doing this, and Seth says, we're 100% unscripted. He said, you don't work that way. So, but we do. But what's nice unscripted is you're not thinking ahead about what you're going to say.
No.
So seriously, and that's good, because we talk, and what you're saying isn't something you planned on, so that people watch this go, well, I want to make sure I say the right thing and all of this. It's what comes to mind, and you share it, right?
Right, it's coming from the heart.
So what you're saying just comes off the cuff, and we appreciate that. So what are your plans for you and Octavia for the future? What are your goals? What are you trying to do?
So currently, of course, on the waiting list for housing.
Yep.
And something that I've been wanting to work on this fall, I would like to start an online course so that I can get certified to work in a daycare.
Oh, really? You'd like to work in a daycare?
Oh, I'd
You're
love
one crazy
to.
broad. Man, I can't think of that's the last place I want to be is in a daycare, man. It's like, whoa.
I adore children. I work really well with them. I used to love babysitting, and I feel daycare is probably the only job that I would excel at.
Well, there's definitely a great need for daycare.
Yes.
And daycare is expensive, too.
Yes, it is.
So, but if you're doing it, your daughter, if you did it now, she could go for free if you're doing daycare, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, because I got my granddaughter, my son, my granddaughter, a bunch of them got little ones that they're putting in daycare, and they're telling me the prices they're paying. It's like, that's twice what I used to make a few years ago. It's what they're paying for daycare. I don't know how, like, a single mom can pay daycare, make enough on a job to pay the daycare plus pay rent and food and all of that. So it's got to be incredible. But have you thought of starting your own daycare or going to work for some? What was your thinking?
Well, the first step would be to work at a daycare, and then hopefully in the future, I would love to start up my own.
That would be so cool, right?
Right. And my prices would be fair.
Be fair. Well, people watch this going, well, they maybe run the daycare, watch this go, I think my prices are fair, but they're not paying it, they're receiving it, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I've heard some crazy prices. And the other thing I'm hearing is, which is cool if you want to get into that, there's a big waiting list for people. Like my granddaughter just had a child, and people are telling her, but as soon as she got pregnant, she knew she was pregnant. They said, get on the waiting list right now. And she said, well, I just got pregnant. They go, you probably would be on a 2-year waiting list. You may not get into your child's like a year old. And I'm going, you got to be nuts. And she said she started looking for them. She finally found one. They were taking, but she went through tons of them. She says, Grandpa, she says, there's like literally 1 to 2 years waiting list, waiting for people to get on at ungodly prices. So, wow, that you could really take care of your little girl if you got into something like that.
That's the goal.
Yeah. We'll be nicknaming you the Midas after that, because you're going to be walking around all gold, and I'll tell you right now. Well, that's cool. So here's a question I've asked all the moms as they come in, and the dads with the little ones. Do you have any fear of your 2-year-old being here at a homeless shelter? Do you have any fear for her safety or anything like that? Because I know people want to know that.
Right. I absolutely do not have any fears at all. We have our own private room, so we have our privacy. And like I said, everyone here is like family. Everyone is very, very kind, and they adore Octavia.
Yep, they're good with the little ones, aren't they?
Yes, and there's toys that she can play with, and like I've told you before, she doesn't understand it's a shelter. She thinks it's like a summer camp.
Isn't that cool?
She's just having so much fun.
And that would not be so if you had to go out days and lug her around town.
Exactly.
Dragging her from the library to a store. And we're hearing these horror stories, and towns don't want them out on the streets anyway. And so we need more shelters that are 24/7 so that the homeless aren't out on the streets until they move from the shelter. They should be moving into an apartment, and they should never be seen wandering the streets outside and going for groceries like everybody else does or something like that.
I agree.
So, well, how we doing on time, Seth? We're good? Yeah. Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you for coming on, Brianna. I know you had trepidation, but you said you saw some of my podcasts that kind of relieved a little of the trepidation.
Yeah, I watched quite a few of your podcasts, and it looked like fun.
So that fear left when you started watching them. You go, look at that crazy dude. Right? Well, you can see I'm really not a professional podcaster, to say the least. I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm having a lot of fun, and it's great. And being able to share with folks like you and your little one and the others and their little ones, it's a real pleasure to be able to do that, and an honor. What would you say to those that are watching and they're here, and we hear it. They call you, you and your little girl are called those kind of people. What would you have to say to that? Here's a chance for you to actually say something that's going to be heard. What would your response be? They go, you're those kind of people. You and that little girl are those kind of people.
It's insulting. We are people just like you. And sometimes life just throws us through a loop. Sometimes things unexpected happens, you know. Not everyone becomes homeless because of bad choices, but even if we do make bad choices, who doesn't? We just need help and guidance, and love, lots of love.
And you finding it here?
Yes.
Well, I tell you what, you make my heart feel good. And I say thank you for coming on and bringing your little girl on and being on my podcast.
You're very welcome.
And I hope all of you watching are learning and learning what these folks are like. That you're looking at them, and this is like be your daughter, or your granddaughter, and your great granddaughter, whatever. They're no different than my kids and my grandkids. She's no different than my girls and my little granddaughters. No different. They're just young people that need a break right now. That something turned and put them on the street. So I want to say thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting us. Remember, go to sheltersbyjesus.com. Check us out. You'll also check my other podcast and hit subscribe to it if you haven't. Hit like when you watch them. And the ads are coming on. And what I tell people is it helps if you let the ads run. If you want to do without ads, let it run through once. Go do something and come back and play it again and then punch the ads out the second time through. But we'll get credit for the time that you're listening. Or just turn it on and walk off and leave it and let it run. They don't know the difference. And as long as we get credit and helps us feed the homeless and house the homeless, just like her and a little girl, BRIANNA Octavia, and others that you've seen. And thank you and God bless you for watching and being a part of this. And all I got to say is getting ready for the next one. And you all come back now here.